Hey, what's up everybody, Commander Radix here bringing you another video, and I realize this is awkward because it looks like I'm strangling you. And maybe I am, for all you know. But no, I'm holding you like this because I connected my camera to a tiny tripod, a gorilla pod, and I tried to put it back up onto my monitor and that did not work. And I'm going to move you eventually, so eventually I'll do that. But bear the strange camera angle for now. And you'll see why you're connected to a tripod in a little bit because I'll have to move you in a little bit. But I'll try to make this intro short because my arm is getting very tired. So if you're like me, you're really into history and lore and everything going on in the past. You know, that mythical past. That interesting time period where everything is better than now. And one topic that I think is really interesting, and I think a lot of people find really interesting, is the topic of Greek mythology. And today, you know, I do a lot of reading, and today I wanted to share with you guys one book that really helped me a lot with studying Greek mythology, and some thoughts that I have on it, because I think it's a popular book. I think most of you watching this probably already know the book. Well, I don't know about most, but a lot of you watching this probably already know the book. But I wanted to give a few points on the book that I think is worth mentioning. And while some of these points are sort of critiques, not exactly critiques, you'll see what I'll mean in a minute. I'm kind of being vague here because my arm is hurting trying to hold this camera up. But overall, it's a great book, beautiful book, I think you'll see. And I highly recommend it, even though it is a little bit expensive. And I bought it on an import fee. So it was super expensive when I bought it, but let's not talk about that. And ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Here we have Mythology, Timeless Tales of Gods and Heroes by Edith Hamilton, 75th Anniversary Illustrated Edition. Look at this book. Look at how big it is, right? It's massive. It's about, in fact, give me a moment. It is, funnily enough, about the same size as the Orthodox Study Bible. So that's sort of the size we're dealing with here. Really big book. Also, I apologize for the weird camera angle and how much this camera is shaking. I have a very short USB connection from my webcam to my computer, and I don't feel like getting my camera out. But yeah, production quality on this book is great. I mean, listen to that. That is the sound of a door being knocked, right? So, Edith Hamilton's Mythology. It's actually a relatively old book. This is the 75th year anniversary, right? And it's really a book mostly like 90% on Greek mythology, right? Edith Hamilton went out and compiled a lot of stories from Greek mythology and put them in her book on mythology. Now this 75th anniversary, why I particularly like it is, look at that. It's an illustrated edition. We have all these different artwork here. This one I'm a fan of, this art. Let me see if I can move you. Maybe if I have a digital copy of it, I'll show you, but it's Zeus presiding over Olympus, and it's just a beautiful piece of art. You have in this god section the name of the Greek god in Greek, and then its Latin Roman name after it. You have a lot of useful reference material like full-on family trees that can really help you. This, again, great introduction to Greek mythology. You have all the major stories, you have Hercules in here. Then, of course, you have the Trojan War, everything that happened in the Trojan War, and even Odysseus' journey. There's a great piece of art, here it is, on Odysseus' journey. I know you can't see it, I apologize for that, but it really helps. When I was reading the Odyssey, this book really helped me understand where I was in the story. Now, some things like, this is obviously a secondary source, right? This is a sort of modern retelling of these stories, right? Edith Hamilton is taking these old pagan Greek and Roman, a little bit of Norse. There's some Norse at the end. Not much, but it's there. And she's retelling the stories, right? It's a modern reinterpretation. There are primary sources available, right? So if you want to get really close to the source, read something like Hesiod, right? His works. Or read Homer, right? The Iliad, the Odyssey. And sometimes Hesiod is a bit difficult to read. I really like the Iliad and the Odyssey. They're much more readable. I was reading the Fagles translation. So even though there are basically summaries or short retellings in this book, I do recommend for some Greek mythology, like the Iliad, like the Odyssey, that they should be read in their primary form, or an English translation. Something else I want to point out about Edith Hamilton when it comes to the study of mythology, or really the study of the religious beliefs of the ancient Greeks. It can be very easy to forget that mythology is the stories of a greater religion. And not only do these stories have meaning, but also oftentimes these stories had a ritual that went with them, right? So this wasn't just fun stories, or even just stories about morality, or things like that, but these were stories that were lived out through ritual. In some cases even involving some sort of sacrifice, right? Or some sort of act. We could get into Saturnalia, but I don't want to. So I think when people study mythology, there is a trap that you could fall into to think that this is what the religion was. But there's so much more to it than just the mythology. This is why we want to go in and read the primary sources, right? However, it can be pretty intimidating to go into the primary sources without a base knowledge, because all of the ancient Greek primary sources about their religion is going to assume you already have an understanding of the stories and mythology, which that's the place this book holds, to introduce you to the mythology. Now, the first major work of ancient Greek literature I ever read, I think you guys know, is Herodotus' The Histories. I made a video review on this book, and you guys know that I really like Herodotus. Herodotus is really one of my main inspirations as a historian, and in fact he is like the first historian. But when I was reading Herodotus, I found myself, like, oh, here he is talking about a god or about a story that I don't really know. In fact, he opens his book, he opens the Histories talking about the conflicts between Asia and Europe, and he starts with, does he start with Io? According to the learned Persians, it was the Phoenicians who caused the conflict. Originally, these people came to our sea from the Red Sea, as it is known. No sooner had they settled the land they still inhabit, then they turned to overseas travel, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, his very first paragraph, book 1, paragraph 1 is about Io. And I don't really know about Io. I don't know what he's talking about. So I can go into mythology and try to find, does Edith Hamilton give us a sort of modern story of Io? Let's go into the index. H-I-I-O, page 77. I go to page 77. And then here we are, Prometheus and Io. And it talks about, I believe there's a... So we have Io going through meeting Prometheus, and then talking about her being basically kidnapped by Zeus, right? And it's interesting because in here it's about her being basically kidnapped by Zeus. And then I think she's killed by a jealous Hera or something, or at least Hera has a role in her being banished or something as a heifer. It's been a while since I read this. I know Greek mythology stans are watching this and screaming at me at their screens. But it's interesting to compare that with Herodotus, who has his own sort of philosophy on the religion. He criticizes and like counter-signals Homer in a few places. But here he is talking about Io being kidnapped by the Phoenicians, right? So that's an interesting thing to look at. So this is really helpful as a reference for people studying Greek mythology, Greek history, ancient Greek religion, if they don't have a solid foundation in the first place. But this is a great book, beautiful art. I mean, look at this. This is the death of Ymir and the creation of the world. That is beautiful artwork. But yeah, highly recommend this book if you're interested in getting to know more about Greek mythology. Beautiful art, very high quality production value, very hard cover as you've seen, very stiff pages. This book is going to last as a reference, so strongly recommend this. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that book a little bit, put out a little bit of information about how I feel about the book, some things I wanted to talk about mythology, how mythology, or rather ancient religion, played a role in the ancients' lives, and how it can be a little bit different than what we read in a modern day sort of retelling of mythology. But still, this book is an excellent reference, an excellent base knowledge before you get into the primary sources, or to use as a companion for the primary sources from ancient Greek literature. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do not know me, I am Commander Radix. I make videos on a number of topics: history, religion, mythology, Transformers for some reason. If you're interested in Greek mythology or mythology in general, or books in general, consider checking out my videos, subscribing if you have not yet. Check me out on social media. Twitter, Instagram, and Discord are all in the description. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.